Namaste. Welcome back to Yoga Studio 9. I'm Lauran James. Go ahead and start on your back today. Bend your knees and place your feet so that the four corners of your feet are equally rooted into the mat. We're going to spend a lot of time today working with spinal articulation. So when I'm on my back, you can kind of imagine for a moment that between my tailbone and each of my vertebrae, right? That if I was to extract my spine out of my body, like a snake, it could just like slither away. Right? Your spine is very much like the skeleton of a snake. So we're going to explore some of those motions today. Feel them in my body as like a liquid actions. So on your back here, just let your hands rest by the side body. And on an exhalation, scoop your tailbone up in space until your buttocks comes just off the ground and the waistline presses more firmly into the earth. And then on an inhalation, you're going to roll back on your tailbone. Tailbone gets heavy in the earth and the back of your waist will lift. This is one of those actions. I'll move my hands so you can see more clearly. You're welcome to keep your hands at your side. That once you look up here and actually see the action, at home you can continue to do this without looking. I'll lift my tailbone. And then as I exhale, I'm going to release my tailbone and angle it towards the earth. Scooping the tailbone up. So this action is going to assist my familiarity with moving from and instigating action from the tailbone. It's a lot of poses in yoga that we can instigate from an incorrect place, and when we do so, we tend to put strain on that place we're instigating the action from. So by becoming more and more aware of your tailbone, you'll become more and more aware of a primary point of instigation. Also in yogic philosophy, right, there's this power of the life force is coiled up in your tailbone. So by becoming aware of where the tailbone is, we become aware of where that treasure chest is. You're just going back and forth right now, tilting your pelvis. This should feel very restorative. Should feel like a coming home. And the next time you come back to neutral, rest in neutral for a moment and just notice your breath. Notice any subtle shifts of energy in the body. And then we're going to play with that same action, but this time we're going to grow it into bridge pose. So my feet are firmly planted on the ground. I'm going to grow bridge from the instigating, from the primary point, from the conductor of my tailbone. Feet grounded. Then I'm going to lower bridge down from that same instigating point of my tail. My chest will stay lifted, my tail lowers first. Then the rest of my spine. And then the tail grows. sides of my chest stay lifted as I lower my tailbone back down. Keep the back of your heart ascending. Again, as we practice these snake-like actions, can instigate like the tailbone is the head of the snake. And these actions are super, super subtle, but their power is within their subtlety. They're not big, aggressive actions. They're very subtle, but very deliberate. That's the beauty of so much of this practice as I experience it, is that so much of it is very, very subtle. And the tendency to do big, harsh movements or big tada poses, without subtlety, those poses can actually tend to do us more harm energetically by draining us. Too much force and we'll be drained. The subtlety allows us to stay in a softer energy, an energy that's endurable. The last time I took a class in which my teacher was teaching us spinal articulation, the next day I was incredibly sore, in a good way, but it just reminded me just how much subtlety builds strength. Stay up in this next bridge pose and interlace the hands under your body. And again, keep lifting from the tailbone. Instigate the action from your tail. Let the front of your body soften towards the back of your body. As the tail continues to lift in space, the front body softens into the power of the back body. As I exhale, my legs stay firm, the tailbone releases down, the chest stays lifted until the very last moment. Widen your feet and let your knees fall in. As you rest here, observe your breath. So subtlety requires a discipline of our consciousness, a discipline of our thinking mind. It's so easy, especially when you become a more quote-unquote advanced yoga practitioner, to go through the actions. The actions themselves will become more familiar, and so you can almost stay in the habitual pattern of your thinking mind and consciousness as you go through the actions. So creating a very subtle practice demands your consciousness, demands your attention. And in that way, as human beings, we want to work towards more and more complex structures so that we can continually keep our consciousness up to speed and in check. Inhale fully here. Exhale completely.